And welcome to the Pats Nation.
Mute him. Would you mute him, please?
This is Santa Claus alongside Catone, and Joe is with us in the booth, of course, and you are watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, 790 The Score, anywhere you podcast, and make sure you give us a call and heated hotline. Mark's getting rocks and coal and everything else for Christmas.
I'm the Grinch. You can be Santa Claus. I'd rather be the Grinch.
There you go. So call us in heated hotline and let us know what you get for Christmas and what Santa brought for you. 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. Or give us send us an email in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Got the Bills today. 4 o'clock start. 4:25 start?
4:25, I believe, yeah. Because they want to feature Josh Allen, Chris. Really? In that time slot. I was going to
ask you, Mark, do you think that they did that because of him or because Drake May's been showing a little bit of nice?
No. This week it's because of Josh Allen. But I will say this, Chris. The NFL, they were saying, does like to feature their young stars and potential young stars. Next week, they already flexed us to Saturday, 1 o'clock against the Chargers at home because they want to feature Drake May as a young up-and-coming star in the league, and they want him to get national exposure. But
it's funny.
It's all about Allen this week, Joe.
It's funny that you mentioned next week because we are going to be on Saturday next week instead of Sunday. So take note of that. We will be the first pregame show, 9 a.m. Eastern, right before the Patriots pregame show kicks off on 790 The Score, and then right up into the game, we will be on. Actually, I think we're earlier because they're a 4 o'clock kickoff. So we'll be on a few hours before the first pregame show.
For the same reason, right, Mark? For the same reason.
But Chris, next Saturday we'll be on at 9. You're right.
It's a 1 o'clock game, right?
It's a 1 o'clock game next Saturday. Yeah, we'll be on at 9. You were right.
Very confused. I'm very,
at 9 a.m. next. That's a program change next Saturday. You're right. We're the first pregame show, and then it leads right into the Patriots pregame show. So it's perfect. You listen to the experts first, and then you can listen to the Pats show
and the other clowns. At 10 a.m. So we will be on the Pats Nation, 9 a.m. Eastern, next Saturday, December 28th. So make sure you stay tuned. And today we're going to go into the Coach's Corner, talk a little bit about what they need to do, try to help them fix this mess. And QB breakdown, we'll talk a little Drake May. And, of course, Pats preview, give us our keys to victory. Keys for the game. I don't know about victory for the Buffalo Bills here today.
And nice final score in Sunday spread for this one.
Yes, and then we'll get to Sunday spread and see if I can lick some of my wounds from last week. Gentlemen, how are we? Merry Christmas.
Listen, this is the best. Listen, I love this time of the season.
Oh, yeah.
This time of the year. I love it. Yeah, no, listen, just give me a couple of bottles of bourbon, lock me up in a cave, and wake me up on January 2nd. I'll be okay.
There's the season, the silly season. So let's, speaking of the silly season, let's get into the Coach's Corner. Joe?
Coach's Corner.
Listen, if you're on 790 listening to us, you have to go on YouTube and watch that wash of those. This kid's showing the season shirt. What is going on over here? Listen, you just have to tune in this week just to see him ring the bells. You're gonna go on YouTube this week and watch the show. But listen, you got to go on just to watch that wash with that clown. It's like the Island of Misfit Toys those coaches Joe puts up every week. Like, it makes me laugh every week, Chris.
Yeah. Well, if you listen to the show yesterday and by the ratings, it looks like you did. At Corso and Catone, we went in ad nauseum about the coaches and about what went on in the Arizona game and what I saw at the walkthrough.
Because you were at the game last week, Chris, right? You were at the game.
Yeah, and
you were fortunate enough to be invited to the walkthrough.
I was at the Patriots walkthrough the day before, very secret, very hush-hush, but I got to see firsthand the stress. I got to see the firsthand of the stress on Mayo and company and the rest of the coaching staff, who, by the way, wonderful people, nice people, all respectful, wonderful people, and it's hard to watch good people these things happen to. But at the end of the day, it's a bottom line business, Mark.
Yeah. It's a win. Listen, it's win. It's win. If you can't win, it's about winning. If that's what this league's about. If you can't win, Chris, they show you no mercy. You'll be out the door.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, and to rewind just a little bit, we want to get into this Coach's Corner segment. Want to play some of what Mayo had to say after last week's game. Joe.
Good evening. All right, never mind. Take it back.
Consider running Drake in that situation. That it's a short yard situation. You know he can run.
You said it. I didn't.
Back to Phil's question just now. You said it. I didn't. So was that Alex Van Pelt's decision not to run?
It's always my decision. I would say, look, the quarterback obviously has, good pair of legs and does a good job running the ball. We just chose not to do it there.
Yeah, he was asked. If for those of you who are in a cave and didn't hear this already, he was asked, why not run the ball on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, sneak it with Drake May, and he said, "You said it, not me," which completely threw Van Pelt under the bus. There, it shows a lot of dysfunction, and they're not on the same page. Mark, we covered that yesterday a lot. But
Chris, but listen, I think you're overreacting because then he walked it back the next day, and he said that that's not what he meant. He was just clarifying that the reporter was saying that's not what he was saying.
Well, this is what he actually said.
I know there's a lot of chatter about, the question last night of, you said that. I didn't mean anything by that. It was more of a defensive response. And ultimately, and I tried to clarify that with the follow-up question because ultimately all of those decisions are mine. So I just wanted to get that out there.
It's this time of year, Mark, where these people are throwing each other under the bus. It was defensive response. What the hell does that mean?
Chris, I don't know. Listen.
At the end of the day, the only one calling the run play was the reporter. That's it. That's what he said. That's the fact right there. Because Mayo's like, you said it. I didn't call the run play. Van Pelt didn't call the run play, which needed to be run. You did, sir.
Yeah.
The only one respected it.
But what it says though, Joe, is that he doesn't have any control. It's like he's got no control of what's going on.
Yeah.
Nope.
You're not the head coach.
You mean to tell me you can't walk over to Van Pelt and say we're quarterback sneaking here?
You don't have to walk. They got those things now with the heads.
Oh no, I know that, but I'm just saying I'm an old man. But you mean to tell me
Newt Rockney over here is walking around?
Yeah, Rudy, let's go. I want to watch Rudy before the Notre Dame game Friday. Listen, you mean to tell me you can't? You mean to tell me you can't tell him your quarterback sneaking the ball? Are you kidding me, Chris? But it's your decision. So then don't make the dumbass comment you made after the game if it's your decision. If you're going to then say, well, it's my decision. You know how many times he has said that during these press conferences? Well, it's ultimately my decision. It's ultimately my decision. Well, it's not your decision because you're not making decisions, obviously.
It's tough.
And I know you said he's a nice guy, and that's what everybody says about him. He's a nice guy, and he really is. And everybody says, oh, he's a guy you want to go have a beer with, talk football. But is he a head coach, Chris?
It's not a nice guy league. It's not a nice guy league. Listen, I talked to him for a bit. He came walking right up to me, introduced himself, and we had a conversation. We had a good conversation. And yeah, he's a great human being. I mean, but Mark, you could see it. You could feel it from him. I spoke to Matt Groh for a bit. I talked to the special teams coordinator, Troy Brown, Slater. These guys are feeling it. You can feel the tension on them. I don't feel it on the players walking off that field, but I feel it on I feel it from the coaches. And he doesn't. I mean, I was talking to a man that just doesn't have answers. He doesn't have them. And therefore, when you don't have answers, if you're in front of media, this is the kind of crap that comes out of your mouth.
Yeah. And Chris, they didn't have answers on the field Sunday either. Last Sunday against Arizona, they didn't have answers.
I got news for you. They didn't have him in the walkthrough because I saw the game plan, and I walked out of that place saying, if this is what they're going to do on offense, they're in a lot of trouble tomorrow. I don't know why I
And
teased
they-
it up.
and-
I don't know why the hell did I tease it up to 12. What's the matter with me?
Well, we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
Anyway,
But
so
Chris, so yeah, they obviously on the field didn't have a clue.
no, and on the sideline
week-
too, Mark. You know, I was sitting about 10 rows back on their sideline, and I could see everything. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking to see what the hell happens on this sideline that I can't see on television. And I saw a lot of individual stuff. You know, when it's going as bad as it was going in that game, and it was going bad on defense, bad, okay? And offensively as well.
Covington doesn't huddle up with the guys, Chris.
You know, you know how you would see Bill take the whole defense together and just chew their ass out, or coach them up, or get the pro pad thing, whatever they call those things.
Yeah.
And then, you know, sit in front of them, and I use a whiteboard. These guys are using these.
Well, you're a dinosaur.
I don't know how to use those things.
You're a dinosaur.
and you know, they're looking at there's none of that's happening. I don't know if they think they could just fix itself. I don't know what the hell's going on. But the bottom line is, you know, you're giving up. Where the hell's my sheet? You're giving up 350 or so yards, almost 400 yards of offense, 163 yards rush. I mean, and Mayo's just not, you know, like I said to him, pick one thing. I said, sometimes when you're looking at the big picture, you drown. You know, you drown because you're trying to fix it all at once and you can't do it. So go to one thing that you know. Go to one thing. Fix that one thing in game. Make that thing right. And then expand out, right? I mean,
yeah.
And we talked about that, but it's just too much. It's out of control. And then his coordinators are just not helping him, Mark. I mean, these guys, Alex Van Pelt, the criticism, right? What you saw on television, what I couldn't see in the stands, was Jonathan and Bob Kraft. What happened there?
Oh, so they're having a conversation, Chris. Now, I don't remember if it was before.
I thought it was right. I thought it was right after the nice play from up the sideline from Marcus Jones or Gibson. I think it was Marcus Jones.
But it was before, I think, the 3rd and 4th and 1s, I think.
It was after that play, and then they had another play, and then they get to that spot, and they just happen to go up to them because I think they're asking for the TV time, by the way.
The play that he called, Chris, he called a wide receiver. I guess it was a bubble wide receiver screen. He throws the ball out to Bourne, and it was like a 6-7 yard loss.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Bob leans over and says something to Jonathan, and you couldn't necessarily see, couldn't really read his lips, but you could clearly read Jonathan say, "That's a terrible play call." And Kraft, then you can see him nodding in agreement. Yeah, you're right. He says, yeah, you're something to that effect, but he agrees with them. But you can clearly see Jonathan calling out the play call. Now, then he has a piece of paper in his hand. It wasn't a call sheet, which I know about a month ago you said, Mark, I think that's a damn call sheet on his hand.
Yeah.
But this was like just a piece of paper like you get when you walk into the stadium. It looked like, you know, a roster of who the players were on both teams with their numbers. And I think he probably had that for Arizona. And he's writing on the paper after that exchange with the father. And I'm saying to myself, this is crazy that these two guys now all of a sudden think that, you know, because Bill's not here, they like, it's craziness, Chris. That did either one of them ever play? I don't think either one of them ever played professional football, to my knowledge. So and listen, in Kraft's defense, he was right. It was a terrible play call, but.
Well, whose fault is this, though? Whose fault?
Yeah.
See, you know, this is what pisses me off about hanging coaches out to dry, too. Look, Gerard Mayo, what was he going to say? I'm not ready. I'm not taking the job. Who the hell's going to do Joe, how many times? I say this every week when it comes to the players, coaches, and everybody else. They're not going to turn it down.
No.
He's not going to turn down the job.
No.
So who the hell is it on ultimately? It's on them. So you're gonna get your TV time, which is, I know, intentional, okay? Because you don't see any other owners do it. So you're gonna get your TV time, and you're gonna bitch and complain about the play calling that you did. You did it, Jonathan Kraft. You did it, Bob Kraft. If you don't want to have to take notes and you don't want to bitch and complain, then pay people, pay real OCs, put them in place, get a real general manager, okay, to hire a coach, to hire an offensive coordinator and get a good system. And then you could sit in the thing and you could drink Bloody Marys off friggin' game and not worry about it.
That doesn't sound like a
Bob
bad
Kraft
idea.
here at his phone, pressing the buttons on the phone.
Let me ask you this question. You said being at the walkthrough, you was feeling the pressure. Now, coupled with, obviously, because it's all over the internet, obviously seeing the Kraft's mouth, it's bad play calling.
Yeah.
And those two things. Now, what's the pressure going into Buffalo? Do you think that pressure is like times 10 because it's now Buffalo? Or
Yes.
I mean, Arizona was Arizona, but they're not in a division. So what do you think that pressure is like going into this game?
Oh, it definitely. I'd say it's more than times 10, Joe, because I think if Chris said you could feel the tension last week during when he talked to those guys at the walkthrough. This week, last week's performance was like nail one in the coffin.
Yeah.
Because whether or not Mayo was in trouble or not, after last week's performance and after that post-game press conference comment, and then he tries to walk it back, if they get the doors blown off them this week and they get embarrassed in the 4:25 time slot, oh, you can bet that's going to be nail number 2. And now all bets are off because you and I, Chris, didn't think Mayo's job was going to be in jeopardy.
No.
But the way this is now unraveling, if this ends in just like you're a laughing stock the last 4 weeks of the season, they may be forced to pull the trigger.
Especially with what you're hearing about Mike Vrabel. So Vrabel evidently is the, Burt Breer, was he right? Athletic? No, what is, where MMQB, I think. He said this week that Vrabel's the hottest commodity. He's the hottest item, in the coaching world,
Which means
for all these jobs.
If you did decide you wanted to fire Mayo and go after him, Chris, you're going to get into a bidding war too. And they don't typically spend money.
No, and they said that, there were some other reports that said Vrabel would very much like the opportunity to come back, would entertain coming back to New England. And you're only going to get one shot at him if that's the guy you want. Okay, so if you're wanting Mike Vrabel, if you're wanting a whole reset, because if Vrabel comes, he's got the general manager he's going to bring with him. When he's got the OC that he's going to. It may be Josh McDaniels.
Yes, if he doesn't go to North Carolina, Chris, I think there's a good chance Vrabel calls him and says, "Hey, you want to come? I got a great young quarterback. You can work with him." I think McDaniels would come to work with Drake May. I really do. If Bill doesn't grab him to go down to North Carolina,
I do it. If that's I'd rather have Ben Johnson, but they're not going to do that. So to me, yeah, if you're going to bring Vrabel in and a whole new staff with Josh McDaniels, with Drake May, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I think someday Mayo will be a good head coach, but not now.
no, I agree with that. So, Chris, what is it that they coaching wise? What adjustments are they going to make this week? Because we already talked about how last week was a disaster. They couldn't make an adjustment. They couldn't do anything last week, Chris. It was, but what's now you're playing now? This is a total different animal compared to Arizona.
Well, you can't play man. I'll tell you, you take the offensive
MVP
side.
Coming in. The MVP is going to probably be Josh Allen.
Yeah, well, when we get into when we get into Pat's preview, we'll talk about the players and stuff. But just generally speaking, you can't play as much man as you'd like to play against Josh Allen because he'll kill you. Okay, can't turn your back on him. All right, you need on offense. You got to use Drake May's legs unless they're getting a mandate that says don't run him because we don't want him to get hurt. Okay, you got to use him. You got to let him cook. You got to run no huddle. They move the ball when they run no huddle.
Yeah, and they for some reason, Chris, they refuse to do that. They do it like if they have to out of necessity, but they refuse to do that, Chris. He just won't do it. He just won't speed up the pace.
And for Christ almighty, don't telegraph your plays. That 3rd and 1 call was telegraphed. They moved the motion over to and moved the strength, and the 2 offensive linemen dug in where you knew they were going to fire out. They telegraphed that damn play, Mark.
Yeah.
It's got to be better. It is too much. We don't have enough time. There's too much to say of what they need to do. The bottom line is Gerard Mayo's going to get more control. That's the only way he's going to save his job, is that if these guys compete, if they compete. Yes?
Yeah, and you didn't think they competed. You keep pointing to the 2 touchdowns by Connor every time you talk to me about it. Like, Mark, they weren't even contested. Like,
No,
they
quit on both
like
of those plays.
they quit. They didn't compete on those plays.
They did. They quit on both of those plays. So a lot's got to improve. Too much to go over in this little segment, but we're going to talk more about this, and we're going to get into QB breakdown. But this Coach's Corner was presented by Corso Law Group, CorsoLawGroup.com. We come back, going to go into the quarterback room, QB breakdown, no flipping.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys. Here we go again. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. Back in with more Pats Nation. Okay, let's talk about quarterbacks. We'll do it in QB breakdown. Joseph?
Okay, now.
Hit it, boys.
Hit it, boys. All right, Mark, let's talk just for a few minutes about Drake May, because I'll tell you what, I thought he played he's the bright spot of the team along with Gonzalez on the defensive side.
Yep.
He just progresses every week, doesn't he?
He does. No, absolutely does.
Against all odds.
I was just going to say, Chris, he played well last week against despite the fact that the play calling was so conservative and so atrocious, and you don't have anybody that can get you were there in person, and you saw the route running, and you saw the fact that those receivers can't get any separation from anybody. But despite that, Chris, he still played well.
Yeah, and he was frustrated. He was definitely frustrated. I saw him on the sidelines, and we heard from him after the game. Joe, do we have that?
Let me cue that up real quick.
Well, so while he's doing that, listen.
Yeah, we're good. We got it.
All right, go ahead.
Great. Just from your perspective, it seemed, especially for the first 3 quarters, this might have been it's frustrating a game for you. You seemed like you were kind of coming back, walking over a little bit, kind of collecting your thoughts, walking back. What was going through your mind in this one as far as trying to get the offense going and then eventually getting it?
Yeah, frustrating. I think kind of same thing showing up. That's probably the most frustrating part. I think hurting ourselves, getting long distances, and first and second down, and then not capitalizing when we get down in the red zone and the goal line and kind of make it a 1-score game. So those things just keep showing up over and over, and we're addressing them. And the guys, I feel like we're focusing in during the week and practice, and we're practicing well, I feel like, and it's just not translating to the game. So
on the 4th and 1, you guys have gotten stuffed there a couple times this season. Would you feel comfortable sneaking it, and is that something that you might voice to Alex?
Yeah, that's a good point. It was a good quarterback sneaker in college. A big dude. I'm heavier than people think. So I think there's missing maybe a conversation for that. And I think it's tough, to stop, 6'5" dude, for 1 yard.
6'5". So listen, he's frustrated.
He's frustrated. He's basically throwing Van Pelt under the bus too.
Seems like he and Mayo are on the same page then.
Yes. Yeah. They are on the same page at that point. Yeah. And Chris, you said after that Butte interception, he was visibly pissed off on the sideline.
He came off the sideline, and like I said, the sideline, it was all individual. I mean, it was nobody. It just didn't seem like they were together, wanted to get together, wanted to fix anything. He came off the sidelines. I don't know where his helmet went, but he was just pacing up and down the sideline, shaking his head. He was pissed. Some people said this week he looked dejected and down. No, he wasn't down. He was angry. He was pissed. And that's what you want in your quarterback. He's only 22. He's pissed off. He's like, we'll talk about it in the Pats preview. Booty. Like, who the hell do you think you are all of a sudden? But the bottom line is.
And Chris, after that, you think a coach would go up to Booty and tell him, buddy, you're supposed to sit down there to make the play easier for the quarterback. You said that nothing was said to him when he came off the field.
I didn't see it. I didn't see anybody. I'm 10 rows back. I didn't see anybody talking to him or correcting him or anything of that. I mean, obviously nobody is correcting him. You could see it be playing in the background, his comments where I am.
Yeah.
to make those
It's crazy.
comments like he did, and we're going in the next segment, we'll let you hear it. But listen, Drake May, and you know what's funny? Last year, offensively, we're better this year offensively than last year, believe it or not. Okay. We're up to 17 points per game instead of 13. We're up in yards. We're up in rush yards. We're up in pass yards. We're down a little bit. But the only reason why that's happening is because of May.
No, absolutely.
Because you had that Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones disaster last year.
That was a disaster.
Let me ask you a question, though. When they say a quarterback makes good decisions, what decisions are they making, if not for Brady, right, who can basically run a play that obviously he's, got a plethora in his brain than May does, but given the option to run the ball in a quarterback sneak, doesn't he have that option by himself if he needs to get the score?
Brady did.
I know Brady did, but I'm saying, like, this is a run play. This is not like a designed Brady play. We're talking about.
I don't think he has the authority, Chris, to change that to a quarterback draw.
The reason why, in my opinion, that he doesn't have that right now is because it's not just make a check to a quarterback sneak. Okay. You have to set the blocking has got to be proper. You know what I mean? How they come off the line, how they dig in, all of that stuff means something. So he's not able to set that up first. That's going to be worse. It's going to be worse. Right. I just don't think he's there at 22 years old yet to be able to get that done. Decision making. We're talking about on the field stuff, his progressions, where he's going with the ball. How pre-snap, what's he looking at when he says, okay, I gotta run to this side. I gotta change the protection. I gotta check out of this. When the play is going on, I need to know when I hit my back step, how do I slide up in the pocket? These are the decisions he's making in the game, Joe, is what we're talking about.
Right. I got you.
So, but yeah, Mark, I mean, I think he's frustrated, but I think he's playing great. And when he gets into no huddle and he's got to do his own thing out there.
Yeah, and they don't do that enough, though, Chris. I mean, there were games when Brady was they were struggling a little bit on offense. They didn't have any rhythm where McDaniels would purposely go to no huddle to speed things up so he could get into a rhythm and get some fluid, get fluid and get rolling. And you would instantly see Brady start to get into a rhythm when they did that. Unless it's under 2 minutes. Vin Pelt never does that, Chris. He just won't let the kid go into a no huddle to try to get some rhythm when the offense might be struggling. He does nothing. Him. Yeah.
He clamps down on him as if he's being told to protect them.
Oh, that's a bunch of.
And I don't think that's the case. I think he's just bad.
That's a bunch of horse.
You want to know? I'll tell you this real quick. This is what happened. I'll give you some insight as to what happened, what I saw in that game about play calling. There was a play at the end of the game. It was 2 minutes left. It was just before the 2-minute warning. Now, the game's pretty much over, but we're moving the ball, right? And it was a long pass play. We come up to the line just before the 2-minute warning. He runs Gibson into the line. Remember that play?
I do remember
and then they hit
play,
the 2-minute warning. What I saw, I was watching him on the sideline call his game all day. It's too fast. I've called a game. I've been a play caller, okay, on defense, all right? And the game can get away from you at times. It can happen. And I see it happening to him.
So, Chris, why? So when you say that, what are you saying? So he runs Gibson into the line. So what do you?
To catch up.
Okay.
So say, well, it's the 2-minute warning now. Now I can reset my brain so I can call the rest of this series.
Okay.
Because,
all right.
And you have safe plays. You have a bunch of safe plays on your sheet where if you get crossed up, you go to one of them. And I think that's what's happening to him. The game's too fast and he can't catch up. That's what's happening to him. That's what's happening. Okay. And May is getting frustrated. So today, 30 seconds. What can he do today, May, to keep progressing to you?
Chris, I don't. Well, I think he's gonna avoid turnovers. He's gonna make good decisions. He can't force anything. If it's not there, get rid of the ball, throw it at a receiver's feet, something, but don't try to force it, because if Buffalo is plus 2 or 3 in the turnover margin, they're gonna score enough points as it is. But if you start to give them turnovers, Chris, you'll really get run out of here real quick. He's gonna have to play a clean, no turnover game. And then we know he's going to get handcuffed by Van Pelt, but no turnovers, Chris. He has to make good decisions, get out of the pocket when he can to get positive yards. Don't take sacks. Even if it's a 4 or 5 yard gain on a scramble, you're going to have to use your feet against this team because they're going to bring pressure against you. That's what he's going to have to do, Chris. Not to have a shot to win, because I don't think they can win this game. I think just to keep the score respectable.
Yeah.
Respectable. How about that?
And it's good. And stay frustrated, Drake May. Stay frustrated. Keep that same attitude. But QB Breakdown was presented by Corso and Catone, Saturdays, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern. Hey, make sure you tune in next Sunday, the 29th. Corso and Catone will be on at 8 a.m. Eastern in our time slot. So we're switching time slots next week. But when we come back, we're going to go Pat's preview. Stick around.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
What?
That's it.
What is wrong with
Get him on this damn show.
you? Lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Ho, 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 and welcome back to the Pats.
Bah humbug.
You are Scrooge, though, Mark. You know
I
that?
am.
You really are. I was Scrooge last week. Tune into if you watched Corso and Catone yesterday, or listen, yeah, you heard my day last Saturday.
Listen, I deferred Catone's comments yesterday. We made it a course.
So what does he want? A medal for that? I mean, Christ almighty, Mark.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you may have thought he split the atom over there and, handed me half of it. You know what I mean? So
this time of the year, Joe, that's big. I turned it over to Corso's crisis because you know that I always have a story this time of the year,
especially in the silly season.
That's
when
right.
the Grinch came back to all the toys.
It's just another chronicle of the silly season. One more in the chronicles of the silly season. So speaking of the silly season, we got to get to this Buffalo game and talk offensively, defensively, some of the keys to either keeping it respectable or victories. We're going to do it in Pat's preview. Joe?
Pat's preview.
Okay, Mark. So they moved this game to 4:25. I don't think that did us any favors.
Well, that's actually better for you because at least you're not getting up. You're not watching a game, at 11 o'clock in the morning. At least you get to watch it at a reasonable hour. You know what I mean?
At 2 o'clock, that's okay. But
that's okay. 2 o'clock, right?
I can't sleep anyway these days. This team is, they've driven me to. They've driven me batty. I can't sleep. I can eat clearly. But okay. So let's talk about the offensive breakdown. Let's talk keys to victory. Okay. All right. I'm going to say it with a straight face. Keys to victory, Mark.
Oh, yes. Keys to victory.
Yeah. Okay. We talked about Drake May, some of the things he's going to need to do, decision making, stay frustrated, all those kinds of things. Talk about the wide receivers for a minute. And while Joe's getting that Butte comments queued up, got to run cleaner routes. No, I mean, what do you see out of these guys? Is it even anything they can do at this point?
This is like a broken record. We've been saying this for 15 weeks. Like, I don't listen. There's nothing they can do, Chris. I mean, at this point, they are who they are, right? But they're going to run cleaner routes, obviously, and you said that. But Chris, Van Pelt has to try and get the ball, Chris, down the field a little bit, but it just won't do it. And I know they can't get separation. I get it. But the one time he goes to Bourne over the top, he does complete that ball. May, that was a great pass by May, Chris. The over the top pass to Bourne was in perfect.
Oh, that was right where I was. And he dropped it right in.
First time I ever waited 2 shows for you guys to mention that play. Oh man.
He drops dimes on long balls, Mark. He does. I'm with you. And it's listen, it was more what May did on that play than what Bourne did. Because there wasn't a lot of separation. And we talked in the offseason about NFL Open versus college open. That was NFL Open. He was maybe half a yard. And he dropped that ball right in the basket. It was a beautiful throw. But it really wasn't so much what Bourne did.
But, Chris, I think you're going to have to try and do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
this week because listen, Buffalo's been is one of the best teams in the league, but their defense, Chris, does give up points. They outscore teams because Allen and that offense is firing on all cylinders, but they do give up points, Chris. Now,
well, I mean, Detroit scored 42 points, and Jared Goff threw for, no, it's Detroit, but Jared Goff threw for 500 yards in this game against
Chris,
Buffalo.
The week before, the Rams, LA Rams scored. Didn't they score over 42?
Yeah. Or 35, somewhere in the 30s there.
Somewhere in the high 30s. I mean, listen, our offense isn't, it obviously isn't those two teams. But, Chris, I think if listen, Ramondre Stevenson, I understand he didn't have a bad game against Arizona. You got to use Gibson more, Chris. You need that. You need speed. You need an athlete out there. You need somebody that can get out of the backfield, catch the ball, and get you some yardage. You're going to have to play I know he's not going to play up tempo, Chris, but this is the game you're going to have to try. If you're ever going to do it, this is the game to do it, Chris. Show them something they haven't seen on film all year.
Right.
Do it. Screw it. You can't get any worse anyways.
No, we got to see some no huddle out of them. And
yes.
that at least gets the wide receivers, it puts the defense back on their heels a little bit is what it does. It allows you to dictate the personnel packages too that you have on the field, because if you're running no huddle and you catch them in a play, I mean, this is what Alex Van Pelt just doesn't do. Okay. If you catch the defense in a play, a successful play, and you start going no huddle, they can't substitute now. You got them caught with that defensive, with that unit out there. Okay. And whatever that personnel package they got. And they wanted to get them off the field. So either they got to call timeout or they're going to keep getting gashed. This is the kind of stuff they got to do. And the wide receivers, because they're not good enough on their own, the wideouts.
Hey, Chris, they need to run more of what they ran. Yesterday on Crossroad Catone, you were talking about the some of the motion they ran for guys like Douglas. And you said they need to run more of that. They did it once. Describe that play, Chris. And then they didn't do it again.
Yeah, what they did, and I saw it at the walkthrough the day before, is they motioned across, and they did it with Pop Douglas too, where they motioned flat motion across the formation, and then motion back to orbit. Orbit motion just means it's a motion up to where the quarterback is when the quarterback's in the shotgun. Okay, so motion across back to orbit motion. The receivers outside are kind of running in routes or blocking down, and you run a bubble screen to that motion man, that orbit motion guy. It's not a complicated play. High school teams run it, but it was something they don't do. It's something you haven't seen.
And it worked.
And it worked. It worked.
They need to do more of that, Chris, this week, because if you just come out and run Van Pelt's typical offense he's been running all year, 12 personnel, double tight ends. You're not.
Dude, they had 23 personnel on short yardage out there last week too.
They had what?
23. Two backs and two tight ends, but that was on short yardage. But yeah,
no, it was. But still, Chris, if they run if they run that personnel, they're going to get slapped around the field. They have to do, Chris, something different on offense this week, like we just talked about, or you don't stand a shot of winning this game. It's the only chance you have of winning this game, Chris.
And the goddamn wide receivers need to take more responsibility. What we heard from Butte after the game. Well, let's hear it, Joe.
We knew they was going to play man the whole game, but I feel like it's disrespectful when they go man first quarter, So I feel like we need to be better at attacking that instead of being shy about it, Like, it's no surprise what we knew what they was going to do, so just got to start faster. As started down 13-0 and waited to get going, but we got to get going early.
When you say being shy about attacking, is that play calling related?
Yeah.
What can you do more?
I can't control none of that, honestly.
That was Kayshon Boutte after the Arizona Cardinal game. Mark, that pisses me off on many levels, listening to that clown say that stuff.
So explain. Go ahead. Take it.
Because here's the thing, okay? First of all, you're a what, third-year player who never even saw the field, or second, whatever he is.
Second-year player.
Second-year player who didn't even see the field last year, okay? You're responsible for that interception, okay, during the game. That's your bad, okay? You come off the sideline, you don't see your coaches, you go over to Kendrick Bourne, who's down the end of the sideline on a stationary bike, and you're talking to him instead of getting your stuff right, okay? and you want to come out and you want to blame the play calling when you're running an in route in a zone and Drake May throws the ball to the hole where you're supposed to sit down and catch the ball, and you keep running and it turns into a bobble pick? And he was trying to save your life on that, so you didn't get your head taken off by the safety who was sitting there. And then you want to come out and you want to blame the damn play calling? He's right. And then you want to say it's disrespectful to run man like that? Disrespectful? No, it's not. You stink. You can't get any separation. Arizona Cardinals were the number 2 team in the league of zone, playing zone. That's what they do. And they played man all day long from the minute the Patriots got off the bus.
So, Chris, you know what I wanted to ask you? I'm glad you just brought that up. And I haven't heard anybody say this.
Disgusting.
But Booty mentions, Chris, we knew they were going to play man. How did you know they were going to play man? If you watch film, they don't play man. So do you know you suck? And you know everybody plays man against you because you suck? Are you admitting that you suck and your receiving room is terrible? Because if you watched film, you just said, Chris, they play second most in the league team for playing zone. So if you're watching film of their defense, you don't see them play man. Yeah. So what the hell comment is that? Why? You know everybody's going to play man-to-man against you because your room is an embarrassment? Your wide receiver room?
Right. And shame on the media.
This pisses me off, Chris. Wait a minute. Shame on Kendrick Bourne. One of the reasons why they re-signed him was he's going to show veteran leadership to some of these young guys. You're letting all these goddamn guys run their mouth. Show some veteran leadership and pull this kid aside and say, shut your goddamn mouth.
Yeah. And shame on the media, by the way. Shame on the media. How about a follow-up question to this clown? How about saying, okay, Keyshawn, so you knew they were going to run man. This team runs second most in the league in zone coverage. Why did you think they were going to run man against you? Why would they run man against you when they only run zone against everybody else? What about you makes them want to run man? Answer that, Keyshawn. Answer that question. Because then you got to look in the mirror, and they're not willing to look in the mirror.
Question. Do you think he's benched this week? Do you think he'll play? Or do you think Mayo play? Because Mayo made a comment after in one of his press conferences this week, Chris, kind of calling him out about catching the ball. And he specifically mentions him. Do you think he significantly limits his playing time, even if either he benches him or significantly reduces his play time this week as a punishment?
I mean, they only had 4 active receivers for that game because Baker had the concussion. So I don't know how you can. But in addition to that, you're a little hypocritical if you bench a guy for criticizing the OC.
Because you criticized him,
because you ran your mouth after the game and you shouldn't have done that. Yeah. So the bottom line is the receivers got to play better. And the offensive line, Mark, before we get to the defense, I mean,
what does that even say? You were there, Chris. Is Vidarian Lowe as bad as he looked on TV?
He was bad. It was really bad. It was really bad. And like I said, they're giving away a lot of tells, as to where the play's going.
Explain that. What were they doing?
Well, like when an offensive lineman lines up, forget the play call and forget the motion stuff. I mean, the offensive coordinator is doing a bad enough job on his own, giving away what the hell's going on there. But when you're an offensive lineman, a guard, a tackle, and you come to the line of scrimmage and your stance is fist in the ground, okay, fist in the ground, dug in, that tells the defensive front and everyone else they're firing out. They're going to fire out on me as a run block.
But Chris, as an offensive line coach, aren't you supposed to tell them not to do that? You need to disguise what we're doing.
Yeah, Peters has got to do a better job. I mean, listen, let me tell you what happened. There was a play, Lowe got blown up. It blew up the entire play. Okay, it was like a domino effect of horror, okay, where it was I think it was the fourth down play, I want to say, and short yardage. Lowe gets beat right off the snap. So now what happens is the guard and the tackle that are pulling from the other side, okay, now their guys, everybody had to slide down one guy to block, basically. And because of that, the safety came free, who was supposed to be picked up by the pulling tackle from the other way, because the fullback had to pick up the guy Lowe was blocking. Then the other guy had to pick up that guy. And now he's free, and he blew up the play. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's going on this field, okay, from the offensive line. They're not good, Mark. They're not.
And so what? So what can? Is there anything they
Brown's
can do
not good.
But
Robinson's
is there anything they can do this week?
No, I mean they have what they. Well, I mean you can run different stuff to try to protect them. He's not. Van Pelt doesn't appear to be doing that. I mean they're not good, and you're giving away that you're telegraphing what type of play it is. So they need to do something obviously different. I mean they got to disguise things better, like that orbit motion.
And
Like
Buffalo,
we talked about.
Chris, Buffalo can get to the quarterback.
Yeah,
So-
they had 13 quarterback hits, 3 sacks.
Last week.
Buffalo did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're going to get to the against. So they're going to get to the quarterback, Chris. So you're going to have to do something to protect May and do something with that offensive line. Do you think that you run the ball? Do you think they're going to go back to let's run the ball 30 times again, 35 times like they were at the beginning of the season?
Detroit only ran the ball for 48 yards.
So that's not going to be an option.
And I say more Gibson, less Stevenson. Stevenson put the ball on the ground 6 times this year.
That's what I think too, Chris. More Gibson, less Stevenson, and now your buddy Covington.
Well, okay. So I mean, obviously, last week we know what happened last week. I mean, they gave up a ridiculous amount of yards last week.
To a team, Chris, who really doesn't have a juggernaut of an offense.
No, Kyler Murray threw for 200 and some odd yards. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he had like 100 quarterback rating. Kyler Murray stinks.
Yeah,
he's a lousy quarterback. Yeah. Anyway. This week.
So what do they need to do this week, Chris?
Well, you got to be big up front, okay? Because you're getting run on every week. They got run on for 163 yards last week. You got to stop the run. It's the first order of business. Buffalo ran for 197 yards last week versus Detroit. They had 550 total yards in the game. Okay. So what do? You have to try to be big up front, which means not physically, you can't get bigger, but you got to put guys in positions there. Okay, and you got to run schemes to get them bigger in the run game. You got to stop the run, okay? Mm-hmm. And the other thing you got to do is you got to make Allen beat. If there's anything you could do, make Allen beat you from the pocket, Mark. You got to control his legs.
Yeah.
You didn't do it with Murray, so you got to do it with this guy. You got to set.
And this guy is 1,000 times better with his legs, with everything, with everything.
Throwing on the run, all
and Murray.
Yeah, I mean, you got to set edge. Jennings did a bad job. Weiss did a bad job. Keon White did a bad job last week. You got to do better. He's a disgrace. So you've got to set the edge. You've got to have Allen just sit in the pocket and hope, and do a good job.
Chris, do you play zone or man-to-man?
You have to play zone.
Okay.
I mean, you can't. If Covington thinks he's going to walk into this game playing man coverage, now you can man at spots. You can put Gonzalez on who they got over there? Cooper. They
got a few different guys. That
is Coleman playing?
Guys, huh?
Is Coleman back?
We're not sure. He hasn't played in like 4 weeks. Of course he'll come back this week, Chris. Of course.
Well, look, I don't have a problem with locking up Gonzalez, say on Cooper or their best, because I think he can handle it. I mean, he's shown that. So you can run man at some spots, but you're gonna have. You can't have your safeties and your linebackers turning their back on Allen playing man coverage. You just can't do it. So, I mean, to me, that's what has to happen. You got to play zone. And the problem with playing zone is the inside linebackers, Taki, Ellis, Tavai.
Do you know I was watching?
They just sit in quicksand when guys run by them in zone.
Do you know I was watching the other night? I was watching last week. I was watching the Green Bay game, the Sunday night game. And I'm watching the linebackers for Green Bay. They're all over the field, Chris. Yeah, they're young. They're fast. The guy you wanted from Georgia, Kay Walker, he went like in the second round, didn't he? Third round. Was he a first round pick? I think he went in the second round. He dropped.
I think it was second. I don't think it was first round.
And you're like, but we don't take any of those guys, Chris.
No, our inside linebackers sit in quicksand, and when they turn their back to the offense, to the quarterback, they're trying to find somebody to. It's just ugly. And lastly,
Buffalo has good tight ends, Chris.
Yeah, Mark. The last thing I'll say is you got to get off the damn field. You got to get off the damn field. Last week, Arizona was 10 of 15 on third down. 10 of 15, and you were 0-4 on offense.
That's unbelievable. 10 of 15. Kyler Murray, 10 of 15 on third down. That's horrific.
It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. So you got to get off the field. Buffalo was 5 of 10 last week.
Gonzalez had a great game against Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm just going to say that. I got to give him at least one guy credit on that defense.
He did. He's the bright spot. So isn't Drake
He
May.
is.
So we'll see what happens. But Pat's preview was presented by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm, CorsoLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Here we come back. Going to make some money in Sunday spread. No flipping.
You need to make money. No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys.
Back in with more Pat's. You got to play that. Yeah. That's my. I hear that. Every week I say the same thing. I was like the Pied Piper. I hear that music and I want to get to a casino. Back in with more Pats Nation. All right, Mark. Okay, last week, I did stupid things. That's why last week. Like I had a 5-team tease that I had going.
There's something wrong with you.
It was great. I was perfect. I had it all.
Explain quickly who you had.
I want to go down the whole damn list, but
okay. So tell us what cost you the
Patriots.
So tell us what cost you the bet. You had 4 winners.
The damn Patriots. I teased it up to 12 points, and they lost by 13 because the jerk missed a field goal. I was screaming at them, "Go for 2" at the end.
It serves you right. You took the Patriots in a game. You never bet the Patriots.
I never bet the Patriots.
For or against, you never get involved in those.
Well, because I thought there's no way they're going to get beat by 12 today to this trash team. I think Arizona's I shouldn't say that. They're up and coming. They got a lot of good things going for them. They do. I don't like their quarterback.
Yeah,
this is it. All right, Mark, give us some pearls. Give us some picks. What do you got?
Okay, here are my pearls. Now listen, you got to do this in a tease.
Okay.
Not a tease, a 3-team tease.
I'm going to write this down because I
write it down. The tease down Buffalo. Tease them down. They're going to kick the living crap.
So tease them to
Patriots. Tease them down.
to 8.
To 8. Tease them down to 8.
Okay.
Okay. Tease down Detroit. Because Detroit's going to get even at Chicago. Chicago's they're horrific.
That turns to a half a point. It's 6.5.
That turns to a half a point. Tease down Detroit, and the Philadelphia hype train ends. Tease Washington and take the point. You be getting almost 10 points. You be getting
9.5.
Take Washington at home with the 9.5 against Philly.
I like that. I like those picks. I like those. Yeah. I also like Carolina this week.
I looked at that and then I got scared. I got scared of Carolina. I just,
Arizona's going into Carolina and they never go across the country well. Arizona never travels to the East Coast and plays well. They just don't. And so that line's 4.5. Now, if it were 3, maybe not. But at 4.5, Carolina's doing the kind of thing that New England should be doing. Is you could see some progression.
They're playing hard every week. They got a shot to win, Chris.
So I like Carolina there. Houston at Kansas City. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen with Mahomes. I'm sure he's going to play, but
you're not going to do it again.
I'm going to take Houston getting the 3.5 points on the road. If it were 3, I wouldn't do it.
Listen, just for the record, because of the type of week it is this week, because the holiday's coming, this show is being taped a little early. We're not because the Houston game is Saturday and this is Sunday morning. So for those of you who are listening to this show.
Oh yeah, that's right. It is Saturday, isn't it? All right, forget that one then.
So,
right.
I
don't know the result yet. But Philly at Washington, I like too. I like Washington outright, not the tease.
Yeah.
But I like the way Washington's been playing, Mark.
No, I do too.
And I don't like Philly. I don't like how Philly plays. Philly's up and down. Philly's hot and cold. I'm just pissed because Philly blew that tease a week.
Oh, they blew that tease for you 2 weeks ago. You just keep blowing these games
by a point.
Late by a point. That seems to be your MO. You blow these games.
Eddie Much.
Don't write down what I gave you. Please don't write it down. Don't touch it because it's an automatic loser. Listen, people that are listening to us, if he wrote it down, stop. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's going to lose. Somehow, some way, my teams will lose. Throw that piece of paper in the garbage. Don't look at it.
Listen, the lock of the week is Detroit. You're right. But with the points, I mean, they're giving up 6.5 at Chicago, coming off a loss to Buffalo, where Campbell really screwed the pooch there trying an onside kick.
I don't know. He scares me, Chris. That's the only thing. If they went to a Super Bowl and they had to play Kansas City, they scare me.
Well, I'll tell you, I think Detroit's going to slap Chicago around in this game.
Yeah, I do too.
Now, our game, 14-point spread. The Patriots are getting 14 points.
Jesus.
Give me a final. I know.
47, 23. Buffalo.
So Patriots are going to win this game. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be 42-17.
Okay.
And it'll be 10 points. New England will carry 10 points for a long time, and they'll score a crap touchdown at the end. But they're going to get their doors blown off.
My prediction is Buffalo has 35 points at halftime.
Yeah, I know. I'm not betting against that. So they'll cover that spread. I mean,
Buffalo's the only guy knew how to listen. Belichick knew how to frustrate and play Allen. You would think Mayo would watch the film of what Belichick used to do to Allen, but he won't. He won't.
No. So, I'm sorry, but the Patriots are going to get their doors blown off this week. That and Detroit are the locks of the week. If you want to take a parlay, take those two games.
Well,
Buffalo
Chris, here's the thing.
and Detroit.
Here's the thing. Unless something changes drastically, or unless there's 50-mile-an-hour winds and they can't throw the ball up there, which you never know in Buffalo what happens with the weather, right? I just don't see how New England is going to keep up, Chris. Right now, the way Allen's playing, they're just a juggernaut on offense. New England's not going to be able to keep up, Chris. Because we now with Van Pelt's offense, they're not.
No. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens later on today, the 4 p.m. Time slot. But a programming note, the Pats Nation, our show, will air next Saturday, December 28th at 9 a.m., just prior to the Patriots pregame show and the game leading up to the Chargers game at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll have all the analysis of that Pats-Chargers game matchup and so much more. So make sure you're tuning in on the 28th at 9 a.m. Eastern. And Corso Catone will then air the following day in our normal time slot, 8 a.m. Eastern on Sunday the 29th. So make sure you stick around and tune in for all that. Gentlemen.
The silly season continues.
It's the silly season. It's going to continue all the way through New Year's.
Guys, listen, have a happy, safe holiday. Mark, try not to put your land in the gutter somewhere, please. Give me
Joe, listen. Yeah, no, you're right. Have a happy, safe holiday, guys, and to all our viewers. Have a happy and safe holiday. And listen, I'm going to have a story about Christmas dinner because I'm hosting. So just for the record.
Well, let's hope everybody brings some good food over to Mark's, and let's hope Santa Claus gets you to everything that you want this holiday season and this Christmas. And for all of you out there, our loyal listeners to the Pats Nation and Corso Catone, please have a safe and happy holiday to you, your family, your friends, and everyone else.
Where was the Santa suit, Joe? We used to wear the Santa suit. You need to wear it.
Doesn't fit. Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas, everyone.